Love you. So the question is to describe what your childhood and teens was like.
Oh, is this on? Okay. Let me start off first by apologizing for my tardiness. I'm currently actually undergoing a lot of dental surgery. So much that I wasn't supposed to be here today, but like I told my dentist, I'm like, I can't miss this for the world. So I'm here in front of you today, I'm gagging. My childhood, wow. It was interesting. I was the child that was very into drawing, getting in trouble in school, not for starting trouble, but for drawing too many and doodling too much on the pictures and on the back of my homework. Growing up, oh gosh, forgive me. Home life was pretty normal. I wouldn't say I was spoiled. It was only me and my brother. We grew up in projects most of our life. Gay life wasn't really accepted in my home. My mom's Muslim. My grandmother was Christian, so that was interesting living with. I grew up. I don't think I know what to say. I never came out to my family. I never once sat any of them down and said, hey, I'm gay, or I like men, or anything like that. It just kind of came out as they started seeing my creative side and the way I care for people and things like that. It was like, oh, you're a little, just always ignored it, always, didn't pay attention to the question. As I got into my, would say mid-teens, is when I started having that infatuation for men, and then it was like, why I keep looking at this guy in gym class, or why am I, in swimming and not getting dressed, and I'm just paying attention to everybody else getting dressed, and I'm like, oh my gosh. That's when I knew, I'm like, okay, I have something on my hands here. And so I ignored it, kept on with the girlfriends to please mom and please grandmom, and that's kept me out of church and the mass jig. After a while, I said, I can't do this anymore. I stopped lying to everyone. Never told them the truth, but I stopped lying. I then just went on being single. I said, if I can't date the men and be accepted, I just won't date anybody. And growing up, that's how I pretty much was, probably until like a good few years ago. And now I'm gay.
So all of the panelists touched on school, but we're going to talk a little bit more about school, and I'm going to start with Danielle to talk about times when if there was safe spaces at school, and times where school didn't feel like a safe, affirming, or accepting space, and what that was like.
That's an interesting question. Oddly enough, at my school, there was a GSA. There was affirming spaces. Like I had a gym teacher who was like obviously a dyke. Like my brother told me, like when he had hers first year, I got a dyke as a teacher. Our vice principal's a gay man. He will possibly hit on your male friends. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, good times, gays around. For me, the safe space was the GSA, honestly. It was the cafeteria that wasn't the safe space. It was like the locker room that necessarily wasn't the safe space. And it wasn't the safe space because of other straight people, because like I was kind of known as the person that's like, if you want to fight, I will fight you. It's no problem. I'll go home, stay there for 2 weeks, come back. Still got an A in my class. But like, it was hard because I felt like my safe spaces weren't necessarily with like the gay people at my school. And that was like, kind of touched on it, like I didn't have the fashion sense. When I went there, like I came out, my mother was not happy with me. She threw away like all of my girl clothes, and every time I bought man clothes, if they weren't my brother's or if they were my father's, she threw them away. So I was wearing like what my brother did not wear from Macy's and Sears that she bought him like years prior on like, hey, I went shopping, and he's just like, no, this is going to make me get beat up in school. I'm shopping at Express because I'm fly. So like I was wearing his stuff, and he informed me that like I had broken like the chain of history and dykedom in my high school, because there was never like a non-swaggy dyke who didn't dress like fresh to death until I came there. Like, with like the 2 sizes oversized like boy jeans that I stole from Merla's closet, with like the rainbow belt tied mad tight, like, and like a shirt that I picked up from Spencer's that I obviously wasn't supposed to be wearing at school, because it was just like, how do you like your pussy, with like a whole bunch of cats on it? You remember that shirt if you saw it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, I was a kid that like went to school and then kind of like changed and stuff, and like came out like, yeah, I'm fresh, and somebody walked past with like a jean Pepe suit, like full-fledged, or like, I remember like people were still wearing Fat Farm then, and like FUBU, and I was just like, really? I'm not flyer than Fat Farm and FUBU? Man, Macy's is messing up. But yeah, like that was really interesting. It was like, the people that I was like not too keen on like sitting next to at the cafeteria and stuff, like those were the cool gay kids and stuff like that. Those were the people that didn't go to the GSA meetings. When I went to the GSA meetings, I was surrounded by a whole bunch of white kids with like dreads that listen to Immortal Technique and like Most Def and shit, and that are really like concerned with the plight of brown people. And it's like, whoa, how many African studies courses did you take in this school, you know? But like, yeah, like basically my safe spaces were like the GSAs, and then like my safe spaces became like my teachers, and then like I went through like a breakup, and then like every now and again, like older gay people would be like, you know what, I'm gonna take you out somewhere where gays are prevalent, where you'll be happy, and you'll leave with somebody, the globe. Yes. And that's when I went there, and that's when like I was exposed to like my first like trans one. Was like, oh, she looked good, dang, yo. And they just like, her? I'm like, yeah. Going to the bar, getting a drink, and every apple martini, the green ones, and the plastic cups. You remember if you went, you know. And they were just like, I was like, I'm about to go talk to her, and they're just like, all right, go for it. Hey, how you doing? And they just like, you got a number and everything? Yeah, man, she was so cool, swaggy, man, swag. All of a sudden, it's just like, after the whole night, you ain't peeped that Adams app? You ain't, pause. Remember what she looked like. And I was just like, she looked beautiful, like Amazonian goddess. I love brown people, I love women, I love gay people. Thank you for taking me here. And then it was just like, sorry, she's transitioning. I was just like, so does that mean we can't be friends? I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know. But yeah, I got to really kind of find out the better part of the gay community by kind of going to the GSAs and going to like Asbury Park, and then like my black friends realizing that I was hanging with like white gays and stuff like that, and then they're just like, okay, let's take you to where we go, and then you'll be okay. So I got a little bit of both. So yes, high school was a beautiful yet shitty experience for me. But all those like awesome, cool gay people that weren't my friends then, they're my friends now. We're friends on Facebook. Swag.
Same question. So school, where did you find safe spaces? In some ways, in other ways, how was it not safe? And then where outside of school did you find community?
Well, in high school for me, it wasn't really like no organizations for gay people. So it was like, all the gays that was basically there when I was there, we all are like trans women now. So I take that as like, we was like popular in our school because we was like on a band, or we went to go cheer, or we just was like, super gay. So the boys, they was like, them faggots, they crazy. They come to school with pocketbooks and stuff. So nobody like really messed with us. The majority of us, like we lived like in the hood. So they knew like our brothers already was up there, or they all was homies or whatever. So basically we just got by whatever. But like we found like safe spaces, like me and my friends like at Project Wow and AOGC or whatever. We just used to go there and meet up and get counseling and stuff and hang out and basically like get to talk or whatever. But it was like, how could I put it? As in like safe space, we basically just had each other, like to talk to counsel, because it wasn't nothing like for trans. Like me, it was nothing for me. Everything was like gay men only. And we didn't feel like comfortable with identifying as being a gay man, because a gay man can't relate to a trans woman. So therefore, it was like safe space was like us just coming together, sneaking out, going to the Globe, staying the night at each other's house, climbing through the fire escape and stuff like that. We created our own safe space for trans women.
Can you talk about Project WOW and ALGC?
I started attending Project WOW like 10 years ago. And it was like a little space on the 3rd floor or whatever. And it was for men who have sex with men. Was basically like just defining ourselves there, Project WOW. So Project WOW, I seen like, it wasn't for me then, because I see that it's focused more on gay men, and with becoming transgender, like it was like kind of like shaky. So happened when we was going through our changes, the office, the African American Office of Gay Concern just was coming into existence with Gary Paul Wright. So me and my friends, we started coming down there. Gabby didn't care. We was young. We was off the hook, running in the hair store, snatching the hair. So it was basically just doing like all the negative stuff. But he always like, his office was always open for us to talk, or we know we needed to come somewhere, we was downtown or anything. We know that we could come there and we could sit and we could talk. And they like never ran us away. He never like made me feel as though that it was wrong being a transgender, or because they wasn't funded for transgender then, that we weren't allowed and things like that. So it was pretty cool.
Well, although my high school was typecast as the gay school, which was Malcolm X Shabazz, I don't personally...
Rainbow City, child.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way when I was in high school. I would say there were a lot of homosexual people inside of my school, but they weren't out, so technically that still means you're in a straight school. As far as safe spaces are concerned, unlike Eryicka, I didn't have many people. I didn't really talk in high school. It was really all about work or not work, but really didn't talk. I didn't really socialize much. I found a haven outside of school and outside of my home, which is also Project WOW. Like Eryicka made mention of, it was mainly focused on men who have sex with men. So I took refuge in there, and I met some wonderful counselors. By the way, Project WOW is 393 Central Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, for all you men who have sex with men. It was a great experience for me, and definitely an eye-opener. It was such a delight for me just coming fresh out the closet to see someone who's already been through everything I'm complaining about, and to actually talk me through it and be like, oh, I'm not the only one. So that was great. I think that was my only refuge, that in my bathroom. So, I mean, that's where the magic happens. Oh, and Sesame, of course.
Right.
But it was a great experience, and I'm truly, truly grateful and appreciative of the man that Project WOW has helped me to become, and helped me to find myself and become proud of who I am.
For me, school was, it was a duality. At times, it was like a very affirming, safe space. At times, it was just like hell. And that was at the point when like I really learned that like there would be times when like in the morning, like my mother would drop me off, or like I'd be catching the bus to school, and I would just like walk around school because I didn't want to go inside. And like that confrontation I felt, because you know, like people would be like, oh, like Kiyan, he's a fag, he's gay. Really, it toughened me. You know, I was like, all right, either I'm just gonna sit down and dread going to school all the time, or I'm gonna have to fight back. And so in middle school is when I really learned to just like toughen up, fight back. And basically I went from like being bullied to being the bully, which is like unfortunately how it operates in like, you know, the hierarchy of middle school. But then I've always had a lesbian teacher who always offered like, you know, who always just like noticed me, offered like some kind words, some empowering words. I remember when I was in middle school, I had this lesbian math teacher, and we would like hiking and like picking each other was like a big thing in middle school. We would just like all day we would be in class, we would like gang up on like groups of kids all day. We would just like tease each other, and it was a really big thing in my school because like kids torment each other so much, and we'd be like so emotionally vulnerable, but causing so much pain and trauma to each other, but that being like how we operated and existed like on a daily basis. And so one day this teacher, she sat down, we had a whole, she sat my entire class down for lunch, and she just talked to us, and she was like, you know what? People are different, people are gay, people are white, people are darker skinned, and that's not a reason for you to, treat somebody without dignity and respect. And so those words really stuck with me throughout the rest of my education experience. And when I was in high school, again, I had 3 really wonderful lesbian teachers who just really took all the gay kids in, they nurtured us. We had this thing called gay care. And we would, during my junior, senior year, it was me and like my group of like 4 or 5 lesbian and gay friends, and we were really close, like really tight with our history professor who was a lesbian. She was out, and we would kick it in her classroom till like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and just like talk about gay stuff, talk about music. We would dance. She would feed us. Sometimes we would go out. Then she started like taking us to New York, just creating that space for us to just be free, be who we are, embrace ourselves, embrace our difference. And then in my senior year in high school, I had another wonderful lesbian teacher who helped us found the first GSA chapter in my high school, which really created, and it was really well received and accepted at my school. So it helped create like just a great climate in the school's atmosphere for like for the lesbian, gay, and trans students. And she also introduced me to a lot of LGBT writers of color and just historical figures of color. And that's also where I found a lot of my community, my sense of community. I remember she first introduced me to James Baldwin when I first read Giovanni's Room, or when I first learned about Bayard Rustin, and I sort of just like delved into their histories, their own personal stories, and just found myself in their words. And for a long time, that also was where I got my sense of community.
Kiyan touched on mentorship. Can you all think of a mentor in your life that helped support and guide you, and tell us who they are, how they supported you, why they were so powerful in your life?
Again, those great lesbian teachers who are now friends, they were really just like affirming and just monumental in my life. I'm gonna name them just to give them the respect that they deserve. Jessica Flores, she was my history teacher my junior year. Mara Hughes, my English teacher during my senior year, and Miss Bell. She never told us her first name. She was like real low key about that. But each of them, they really share their lives with us, because especially being in a school where there's a lot of politics in the education system around LGBT identity, things that can become very controversial. And so for them to have the courage just to be willing to, share this part of themselves with us, share their lives with us. I've been to all of their homes. They invited us into their homes. I know all of their partners. I've met their families. They really sort of just like brought us in, and that made a huge difference in my life.
Word. Yeah, I would have to say like every teacher that I had in in high school, like Miss Fisher, this really awesome like gangster Jewish woman who was like, yeah man, like I organized with the Black Panthers. Black Panthers were so down with the Jews. I don't know what these new Black Panthers are doing with their lives. Like she was the chick that brought in the copy of Mein Kampf and pissed off the rest of the Jews. Like, what are you doing? You have to know thine enemy. And like, she was just really awesome. Carol Johnson, like rest in peace, like she was the one that like made sure that I was never as late to school as I would have been if she didn't see me walking late and pick me up. And she was the place like I went to go do homework. Mary Beth Bogger, who works at NJIT, when I came to the first ALU conference here, like the first one I knew of, African, Asian, Latina, Lesbians United, like I had originally came to see this exhibit done by Tara Lake, who was at the time running Sisters of Sakia. And it was talking about queer history and stuff. And like, I did not know that this conference was like $175. Like, it was like something like that, like something I did not have in my pocket. And I kind of like, I was dressed and I came and I was like really excited and I had like a button down and everything. And I was like, oh man, I'm really excited. And then like I got to the registration table, saw the number on the page, and like my face was like, it was like wanting a Tonka truck and you got Barbie for Christmas. Like it hurt so much. I was just like, oh. You mean I gotta go home? Like I woke up at like 8:30 to get here, and like she looked at me and she was like, no, come on, yeah you, come on, and she gave me a name tag. She gave me like a pamphlet. She said sit in the back, and that's where I met Paris Harris, who taught me how to be a butch and keep a relationship functional and healthy. And keep my ego in check. That's also where I found out about LIT and just the awesome work that's being done in Newark. And I met like Reverend Janice not too long after that. I met Jay after that. And Jay's just been keeping me afloat over the past like 3 years. Like, come to Jay, like, this is what happened, Jay. And she's just like, why do you live that crazy life of fuckery? I need you to stop. I need you to get your life together, you know? And I was like, I got you, Jay. I'm about to get my life together. I would leave like 6 months later. I come back like, I got my shit together. Kinda. But yeah, wow. I remember I went to like New Street for the first time and everything, like walked in and was just like, hey, and there's just so much, like I wouldn't even be able to stand here without also saying like the lunch aides who like gave me lunch, even though like they knew my parents weren't giving me money for lunch like that, but they still like made me a sandwich. Like the security guards who like kept me from getting expelled, but didn't stop me from getting suspended. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're just like, recognize that you did something wrong. I'm not going to say when I got to the fight. I'm just going to say that the fight was over when I got there and that you were said to be in the fight. Not that you started it and that your watch got taken off and used as brass knuckles, whatever, tomato. Yeah, and just like custodians who were like watched over me and fed me dinner because like I was like, that's how I got school pride, because I had nothing to do after school because like the cool gay kids went and did their thing and I wasn't necessarily in that, so I was like around the school like picking up trash and like cleaning toilets and floors with them, and they took me in, and like if they saw me in the hallway, even if like they could have been leaving to go take a smoke break, to go get Chinese food, to go to the bank, to come back, they're not supposed to be doing that. Let me be outside and see if it wasn't an issue. So yeah, like everybody that kept me on the track that I was supposed to be on, you know, and I can't stop without mentioning the white Miss Johnson, because I mentioned the black Miss Johnson, but the white one, that's my homie, because she introduced me to Anytown, which is like this leadership program in which like basically took kids from all around Newark and took them to the woods for 5 days to discuss the issues around like race, gender, sexuality, classism, just like the isms of like the shit that we were dealing with. And like I really got to hang out with like 50 people that I had never met before and just like cry our eyes out at the fact that we couldn't be ourselves and like in the world that we oftentimes live in day to day. So yes, awesome mentors.
Well, growing up and in high school and stuff, I didn't really have a mentor or anything. I had like organizations, like I mentioned earlier, AOGC and Project Wild that I went to talk to people. And like, I missed like a lot of years of my youth due to something that I did. So I wasn't like really around like for my youth years. But like now